Hey Chicago, it is Josh with Team World Vision. Really excited to be doing another one of these fundraising live streams with you guys. Today we have an awesome guest, one of my good friends, Sinead Barry-Lukas, who I will introduce in just a second. But if this is your first time on one of these live streams, they're just short 20-minute action-packed interviews we do with some of our top people across the country.
This is your first time on one of these live
There's
streams.
a little bit of a feedback here.
Probably mute you, YouTube.
Is this better?
Here.
No.
What's going on?
Is this better?
All right, there we go. I had my YouTube live going at the same time as my Google Hangout link. So
You figured it out, man. Good job.
Renee and I were talking earlier about this. There is always something interesting that happens when you do something live. So there it is for the day. Like I said, excited to be with you guys today. We got Sinead Barry-Lukas with us. Quick announcements. 20 miler is this weekend. I sent out an email about it. We'll be sending out another one later today. Be sure to sign up if you haven't. Today's the last day to sign up. It's free for Team World Vision runners. You're going to use your email as the promo code. So be sure to do that today. We have 378 people that have already registered for it. It's going to be an unbelievable group run, our largest one of the season by far. And what would be really cool is if we go into that having raised $1 million already, which would be clean water for 20,000 kids. 20 miles, 20,000 kids with clean water already would be something to really celebrate that morning. So let's work towards that. It's going to be about $16,000 a day for the next 3 days, but I think we can do it. So kick it into high gear, and I'm hoping Sinead will be able to give you some tips and get us into gear. So with that, I want to introduce Sinead. I won't steal too much of her story, but we came on staff around the same time, and it has been absolutely awesome getting to know her. She is up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, leading the team up there, and just been doing some incredible things in that area. So I asked her to come on today and share some of that with us. So Sinead, welcome to the 5th Chicago live stream. I know you were supposed to be on a couple weeks ago, and we also had technical difficulties there. So excited for you to join us today.
Thank you so much. What's up, Chicago? So happy to be here with you. Finally, it's working. We're doing it.
I know a lot of people were excited to hear from you. A lot of our Chicago people know of you, of some of the awesome things that you've been doing up there. So tell us a little bit about your Team World Vision story, how you got started with Team World Vision, what was your first race, when was it, all those types of things.
Yeah, love to. Well, first of all, thank you, Josh. Thanks for the invitation. I love Chicago, and as you know, here in the Twin Cities, we aspire to be like Chicago. We want to be raising upwards of $1 million this year, and you guys obviously are doing such an incredible job. So thanks for this. My Team World Vision story started back in 2010. I was working for a church here in Minnesota. I've been working there at that point for probably 6 or 7 years, something like that. And World Vision has a very strong, powerful partnership with that church. And all of a sudden, one day, we were doing the Step into Africa exhibit, and Bradley Hoffbauer, who some of you also know, was there. And basically, he was picking off anybody who didn't sign up to sponsor a child right then and there, which was me, and trying to get them to run a half marathon. And I was like, absolutely not. I'll go back and sponsor a kid over running a marathon or half marathon, because there's no way. I had actually decided a couple of years before that I hated running. I tried it, and it just wasn't for me. But I got some peer pressure from some people I worked with, and I'm kind of competitive. I mean,
No.
but it's true. And so I did it, and I jumped in, and I actually started to enjoy you know, we had a plan, and we had a goal, and the gradual progress that we were making. And I actually started to fall in love with just experiencing the generosity of my donors. Like, I'm sure many of you have experienced it as well. When you get that text message that says somebody donated, like, it's just the best feeling in the world. And it's so encouraging and so motivating to know that people are supporting you, and they believe in what you believe in. You know, this effort to provide clean water to children in Africa. So that's where it all started. And honestly, after I did my first one, I was like, okay, I'm done. Check. I raised $1,500 that first year. It was a really cool experience, but hey, I've done my thing. I'm done. I don't want to run anymore that distance, and I don't want to fundraise. But God just, I'm telling you what, he kept prompting me. It was like every time I would go on a run, there would be this, this subtle whisper saying, sign up for the team. Do it again. Sign up for the team again. And I fought it for a long time. In fact, the second year, the race was in August, and I fought that whisper until like July. So I signed up for a race a month before because I was trying to ignore that whisper. Finally, I just surrendered, and voila. A couple more races later, and here I am.
So one of the things I love about our staff is that we come from all different areas of life before Team World Vision. So can you tell us a little bit about what that journey looked like for you of starting to realize maybe this was something that you wanted to do and how all that came about? Yeah.
Again, never would have guessed in my life 3 years ago that this would be what I was doing. 3 years ago, I was still working for the church, and I loved running for Team World Vision. It was great as somebody who worked in ministry to kind of have this outlet outside of the church to serve, because so much of my life was wrapped up in serving in the church. So this is kind of my thing outside of work, and it was great. But then there just came this time where it was pretty clear to me that it was time to move on from my position in ministry at that church. And I didn't, that was really hard. Didn't want to. Loved the people there, loved the mission, did not want to go. But God was definitely calling me away. And I did not in a million years think Team World Vision. Nope, not a chance. I was thinking some other things that I would maybe do next, but not Team World Vision. But when I left my role at that church, it just started coming to me like, this is what it's going to be in different ways, right? But you're going to work for Team World Vision. You're going, and it just became more and more and more clear. So I was out of a job for about 6 months, and in that 6 months, God did some incredible things to just kind of affirm this is the direction I'm pointing you on, and this kind of fire in my belly kind of started to well up and grow and turn into this. You're gonna grow the team in the Twin Cities. That's going to be your job. You're going to take it from what it is, and you're going to go from here to there. There's my little Chicago Bills Heibel thing for all of you, because I know you understand it. I'm going to take the team from here to there. Very specific, and that's what he did. I took the position with World Vision 3 days after my first full marathon. So I ran Twin Cities Marathon for the first time in 2014, and got the job. I think it was October 8th. Does that sound right, Josh?
Yep, 2 days after me, no big deal.
You precede me. And just been what a wild ride since then. I mean, God has done exactly what he said he's going to do. This obviously I'm biased, but our team, from the leaders, the staff, all the way down, all of our runners, our donors, the people who engage with this ministry, the most incredible people in the world, and God does what he says he's going to do in this. If we're willing to step out in faith and follow his promptings and his leadings and go for it, man, he shows up and blows my mind all the time.
Amen. So you said a little bit that here to there in the Twin Cities, and there's a whole story behind that on how far you've actually brought that team. Can you talk a little bit about some of the awesome things that are going on in the Twin Cities?
Man, it's just been wild. So for 2014, I think we raised, that was my first marathon year. I think our team as a total raised $202,000. Last year, we raised 560. So more than doubled. What God had told me was going to be 500,000. So that's where we kind of shot for it. And sure enough, it went far and beyond. And last year, our runners really got bold. And so many of them took on the Legacy Challenge. They were like, well, why not? And just went for it. And their passion, and their boldness and their level of energy to pour into the cause, it blows me away, Josh, the way people are willing to invest in this and give up their lives for it. But I think it's because, as you've seen, as I've seen, there's just such a great reward in all of it. As hard as it is, as awkward as fundraising can be, we're seeing the beauty of it all the time. What God is doing over and over again. We don't often get to see what's happening in the field. Most of our runners will never get to see the amazing stuff that's happening in the field. It's amazing. But we're taking hold of it and believing by faith that it is happening, and then just reaping these, like, whoa, I'm getting excited now. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, the fundraising last year was just off the charts. I'm told that we've got the highest fundraising averages in the country, in the Twin Cities, for a marathon. People just, they believe in it, they go for it, go all out. I love them. They're just awesome.
Yeah, and can you, yeah, go talk about the book.
Well, last year at the
National, a ton of your captains going for legacies, so talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, well, that's right. Most of our captains are, like, of course. One of my philosophies on the team is be the leader, be the team. So that starts with me. I've got to be doing what I'm asking other people to do. I've got to be setting big goals and taking on bigger challenges all the time. And my leaders do the same thing. My captains are the same way. They kind of live that same way. Like, hey, if I'm going to lead this team, I better be willing to do what I'm asking them to do. And so last year at the National Leaders Gathering, they asked me to talk a little bit about all these legacies that we had in the Twin Cities last year. So I just kind of wrote this little book and told the story of all these different people, from veteran runners who had been on the team for years to experienced runners to non-experienced runners to first-time people who literally just joined the team, and they went from zero to legacy in a very short period of time. But we're just, yeah. I wish I could tell you, give you like a formula and tell you what it is. But yeah, they're just, it's pretty awesome. It's just really, I think it's just really about, well, it could be a couple things. I like to joke that, like, we're so cooped up in the wintertime with the snow and the cold that when we finally get outside to do something, like, we'll just go for it all out, right? Like, okay, we'll do whatever it takes just to be outside for 6 months of the year.
Yep.
Really, it's just a heart of boldness and courage and faithfulness and this kind of, like, why not go for a big goal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and last year you got to take some of your captains to Africa with you. Your first time in the field, a lot of your captains' first time. You're going again this year and bringing some more of your people. So talk a little bit about what that was like for you and your team and just the impact that it had on you guys. Yes.
So last year there were 6 of us who went from the Twin Cities. This year we're taking 11. It is such, oh gosh, it's hard to even put into words sometimes. For me personally, it was such a rich spiritual experience. And I think it just kind of fanned the flame of what was already happening for our people, those 6 individuals, then to be able to come back and share the stories of the individuals that we met there. I mean, you go there and obviously you meet real life people who are trying to pull themselves up out of poverty. And they're just, you know, before I went on that trip, I would think about these people and I would just kind of well up with emotion, and I couldn't figure out why. Why was I crying when I thought about them? And it wasn't pity. It wasn't like, oh, you know, these poor things. And I spend a lot of time trying to reflect on that. Like, why is it that these people mean so much to me? And I don't remember how or why it happened, but that verse in the Gospels where Jesus said, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. So what I realized that the people that I was going to meet very much represented Jesus to me. They are him. Whatever I did for the least of these, I did it for Jesus. And I thought, you know, that's what it is. That's why I'm getting so emotional, because of the sheer beauty of these people and what they represent to me. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm getting so emotional, because it's going to be like I'm going to be so much in his presence. And that is what I felt, and I think a lot of us feel when we go there, is just we sense his presence. Everything is kind of stripped away, and we see their joy. You know, we are so far out of our comfort zones, and yet we get to experience this, and it's just like I said earlier, it's incredible the work that's being done, how the communities are just thriving. They're, you know, and they can tell the stories of how it used to be not so long ago, and now, like, they're flourishing. It's just it's absolutely incredible being in the field. I would encourage anybody, if given the opportunity, go. Especially if you've put any sort of miles on your feet to support this work. you got to get over and see it. And then to be able to come back and advocate even more, to be an even stronger advocate and retell these stories in a different, more powerful way. It changes everything. So excited to go back.
Yeah, I'm definitely jealous that you're getting to go back pretty soon. However, I am going back in spring of 2017. We're forming a vision trip right now. So if any of you are listening to this and interested in it, feel free to shoot me an email. We'd love to get you on one of those trips. We talked with Anthony Halpin last week, had a very similar story of just going there and having this fire lit inside of them and wanting to do more than ever before. So like I said, if that's something you're interested in, definitely get a hold of me. We will get you on one of those trips, and it will be an experience that you will never forget. But Sinead, you came back, and you were doing big things before that trip, but continuing to do big and going bigger and larger for these kids that we serve. Talk a little bit about how you've been such a successful fundraiser. You're nearing the Legends mark at Team World Vision, which is 50,000 raised over your lifetime, which a handful of people have done. Hopefully, I think you're probably going to hit that this season, which would be awesome. But tell us a little bit about some of your fundraising tactics or some of the things that you've seen from people on your team that have really worked. I mean, like you said, it is the highest average that we have for a half an hour. That you guys what have you seen work?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, people have done so many things. A couple of things that I've done. The first thing I'll say is I told you early on, my first year I raised $1,500. Second year, I think I raised $1,555. Third year was $2,100. And like at that point, those were the top levels. Good. But when I went from my third to my fourth year, here was the difference. I started getting bold and making these direct and personal asks to people. People who had given in the past, people who hadn't, but just kind of saying, all right, would you give this much? If it was somebody who had given, would you give, double or $50 more than you gave last year? Would you extend yourself a little bit more? I'm extending myself a little bit more. So just go big and ask for like some kind of crazy amount. But I wrote specific personal emails to each of those people with specific and to 7,100 in my fourth year. And I just thought $5,000, 100 children received clean water, 100 more, because I was willing to go a little deeper outside my comfort zone and make those hard asks. And is it worth it? Absolutely. I mean, 100 kids. Because I was just willing to take that little bit of a step further. So that's always my first encouragement. Make those bold, direct asks. Take on bigger challenges. Did a birthday run. I started doing a birthday run 2015, did it again this last year. And it was just a great way to rally people. I went from going and running my first marathon to running 38 miles. And so that was a new challenge. That was a further distance that people really found, was inspiring and were able to get behind. So we got to take on. My teammates have been doing some cool things lately. For veteran runners who maybe, are better than average as far as speed. I had one guy decide that this marathon, for Twin Cities Marathon, he is going to start, it's called the Dead Last Challenge. So he's going to be the last person to cross the start line at Twin Cities Marathon. And he's asking people to play So some of you might remember kind of Rusty's longest day ever marathon. Same kind of idea, but asking people to pledge for a certain amount. So, if he passes 2,000 people and they pledge a penny, then they're going to have a $20 donation. It's really simple, and it gives him this challenge to kind of push himself even more. I think it's brilliant. This is his 6th year on the team. So again, he's constructing new, different ways to engage people to tell the story differently. And then this weekend we've got a border battle. So Vikings are going to take the Packers down. I know you can get behind that, Chicago. We all want to take the Packers down.
Well, yeah.
And so we've got some people doing that, like they're doing the one-upper thing with friends. They're saying, hey, if you raise more money than me this weekend, I'll wear a Vikings jersey, if they're a Packers fan. Or if I raise more money, you're going to wear a Packers jersey. And so, why not embrace that this Sunday, right? Like, let's crank it up for the 20-miler. Let's get people engaged and excited that you're going to run the biggest and longest distance you've ever run. And then the next day we've got the Packers and the Vikings going head to head, and why not take advantage of that as well? So people are just having fun, like take advantage of every single opportunity that you have. Some people, they're getting married, and so they ask people to give donations instead of gifts. I mean, whatever it takes, right?
You just got to be creative. That's what it all comes down to. Finding new things, and that's what I love about our team is there are so many different people on the team that are utilizing their skills to fundraise to the best of their abilities. So you got to see what works for you. Just think of this term type of a fundraiser you are, and give you some ideas too that line up with that. So definitely take it. Have on your Team World Vision website, there's fundraising resources there that you can see. Sinead, thank you so much. Chicago this year, it's going to be pretty cool for both of us, our teams, 26.2 miles on the same day, all for clean water and kids in Africa.
Yeah.
I'll be up there to celebrate with you guys, and I'm sure you're bummed to miss out on Chicago, but awesome to know that things are happening all over the country on the same day, that we're not alone in Chicago and you guys aren't alone in Twin Cities. And while most of our runners will never meet, they're forming relationships online and through the work that we're doing in the field.
Right.
So thanks again for being on. I will talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Thanks, Chicago.
All right. See you guys.